I've just had my husband's aunt and uncle visiting from China. So I always get an interesting perspective about life in Australia when I have visitors from China, because obviously they are blown away by our beautiful clear skies, our blue skies, our beautiful cloud patterns, and beautiful landscape, and the fresh air, the clean spaces that I always miss when I'm in China. Interesting to see what they comment on and what they say they'd like to do. And I had a few conversations with them, and the typical Chinese tour experience that we see Chinese people having when they come to visit is a package deal. They might go to maybe New Zealand and Australia on one trip. On one of these tours, they'll all meet at the airport in China, fly together to Australia, be picked up by a little minivan, mid-level hotel somewhere out in the suburbs, and they'll be driven in this little van to Chinese restaurant. So the tour guide gets a kickback for bringing the Chinese visitors there, so they have Chinese food, and then they'll go and see the site. And also, my aunt and uncle, when they were visiting, we were thinking we should take them to get noodles, go out for Chinese lunch. So we were going to take them to the suburban Chinatown, but they didn't want to go. They wanted to go and eat at sort of Australian style restaurants, and I was explaining to them that Australian modern cuisine is like really a fusion of sort of European, Asian, all different kinds of influences, Italian and Mediterranean, all kinds of influences on our cooking. But they were keen to go and try Australian food. Obviously, they could stay with our family and experience. And I could take them to sort of out of the way national park, pretty bushwalks and things that they might not get to go on a Chinese tour. Yeah. So they felt a bit sorry for the people who only got a tour experience and they didn't get the sort of real life Australian experience that they get to have because they can come and stay with us. Something which I thought about for the people who are wanting to provide services to all these Chinese tourists is that they would like to travel independently, and they would like to dine at places that aren't the typical Chinese restaurants, and they would like to have experiences with Australian people. If these big tourism operators, or the big, the designer labels where the Chinese people are known to shop, if they only employ Chinese-speaking people, then the Chinese people feel like they're missing out. And obviously, so if there's some Australians who aren't from a Chinese background who speak Chinese, then they're really interested by that and they find it really cool and they'd like to meet more people like that. So I definitely think there's going to be a market for boutique tourism experiences for Chinese visitors, including, boutique accommodation, really good food experiences, and also maybe Chinese people want to stay in Airbnb type accommodation where they can be a bit more closer to real life in Australia. I like to come and chat to you once a week. What's going through my head about learning Chinese, traveling to China, or, hosting Chinese visitors. Please do subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, studiochina.com.au, where you can sign up for an email update from me so you always hear what's happening here. A few new things coming this year very soon, 3 new things which I'm working on, so stay tuned. You can also come and say hi on Instagram. My username on Instagram is @studiochina, and I always post a picture there every day, so you can come and find me there. I'll see you next week for another episode of Studio China Chats.